All right, I think we are good to get started. So firstly, happy Friday. We've had a pretty busy week at Ironfish, so definitely happy that it's Friday. So I'm gonna start this off. This particular monthly pulse, we're gonna go over some of the more important things. And actually, some of these updates are pretty important that we'll reiterate them in the announcements channel and in the general channel, just to make sure that people who are not here get these updates as well. So the biggest update so far is with our roadmap. Um, and currently, if you go look at our roadmap on our website, have kind of a lot of features that we want to get to before mainnet launch. Those features include expanding sapling, which is the privacy protocol, to have multi-asset support, as well as bridge support. And one thing that we realized with this particular testnet launch, as well as our previous testnet launch, is every time that we launch Ironfish, we learn so much more from our users. We learn how to evolve Ironfish so that it better suits our users, so it brings more value, and so that it's more of a polished product and so on. Uh, so for us moving forward, what we're actually going to do is we're going to get to mainnet sooner, and plan for an upgrade path to get those features in, such as the multi-asset support and bridges. The reason why this is important to us is because that way we get to learn so much faster from our users. And we want Ironfish to be a living product. We don't want to just drop it and forget it after mainnet launch. We want to actually see it evolve post mainnet launch as well. So some of those features that we wanted to do before mainnet launch are actually going to get pushed out to be after mainnet launch. And again, we'll update the roadmap. We'll be very transparent with our community and everyone who's using Ironfish of what they should be expecting before or post mainnet launch. So that's one of the biggest updates about our roadmap. In terms of the roadmap of granular features that we need to do before we feel comfortable of having Ironfish go into its mainnet phase, that roadmap we will actually publish really soon. And this roadmap is the one that we'll publish soon is going to be much more granular than the one you're seeing on the website. So the website roadmap is like very high level of, big arching features that we want to see. This roadmap that we'll be publishing is very much like what is every engineer going to be working on this week, so that you can clearly see the progress that is being made. And so these are very granular features like how do we make our network bandwidth more optimal? How do we do telemetry? How do we do serialization and so on? So that's going to be happening probably next week, of us releasing that roadmap so that everyone is on the same page about what is the Ironfish team working on this particular week, and what are we going to be working on next week and so on. So that's another pretty big update. The third big update is we've been getting a lot of questions from our community about when will this testnet end. And I totally understand people's kind of concern about that because I understand that people are hosting Ironfish on paid, hosting providers, and it's a really real ask of, how long should people do this? What is the expectation and so on. So with the testnet, we're trying to solve for two things. One is we're definitely trying to make sure that we're transparent with our community. We hear you, and we want to give more clarity of a definitive answer of when this testnet ends and when should people expect to kind of stop competing with with the leaderboard. The second thing that we obviously want to do with this testnet is we want to test Ironfish until we mainnet launch. And obviously, that's a little harder to definitively promise because of a lot of things that are outside of our control. So for this test net, we will be kind of releasing a more definitive answer in the next coming weeks, definitely by our next monthly pulse. So very imminently. We are kind of internally doing a lot of research about how other people have done incentivized testnets in the past, how other layer one projects have handled this, such that we still have users to test until mainnet launch, but we're fair to our, testers and incentivized test and providers in giving them more clarity about the timeline and how long they should be hosting or paying for the hosted providers. So overall, we hear you. It's a real concern. We are not ignoring you. We're actively thinking about how to restructure, or not even restructure, or give more clarity of when this incentivized testnet is going to end. So again, we hear you. We will give a definitive answer really soon. So I think in terms of big company updates, those are our big ones. And with that, I'm going to give it over to Alex to give some of the stats that are associated with this incentivized testnet.
Thanks, Elena. Hi, everyone. I'm Alex. I'm an engineer here. Yeah, just so we're gonna go over some of the stats here. So with the testnet, we have almost 16,000 users, registered users. More specifically, 15,570. That's a great number. We always like seeing that go higher. Let's see. Users with points, we have 6,887 users with points on the leaderboard. You could always go check your points by going to the testnet website and searching for your name. And our top countries in the order of how many points they have are the following: Russia, China, Ukraine, Turkey, Hong Kong, and the US. And as far as non-minor rewards, that's PRs, bug reports, and community contributions. We have 256 events. You guys keep submitting them, and we keep processing them. So we're doing the best we can to process all of those in a timely manner. We just try to balance those with actually implementing features for you all, our community. So yeah, just keep submitting them. We'll keep processing them and keep trying to mine those blocks. And on that note, I'm going to pass it over to Rohan for information on Monday's resync of the blockchain.
Awesome. Yeah, so as Alex mentioned, we have right now almost 7,000 users who have points. And in our Block Explorer, you can probably find around 7,500 unique graffitis in total. We found that when we first released the testnet, a lot of people ran into issues with registration and confirmation. So what we're going to be doing on Monday is the Ironfish team is going to do an entire resync of our chain. And this should help give points to people who had issues at the first part of our testnet. So additionally, we've added a new command into the Ironfish node. So once you register for the testnet, we highly recommend running Ironfish testnet as like one of the very first things to help ensure that your graffiti is configured properly to get points in our incentivized testnet program. I will pass it on to Skylar, who will talk a little bit about some of the contests we've been running.
Thank you. Yeah, so as you guys know, we've been doing these weekly one-off challenges. Last week, we wrapped up the meme contest, which brought in hundreds of entries. I don't think we counted, but who knows? It could be close to 1,000. And the social media marketing for that contest brought in over 1,000 signups alone, which is pretty crazy. And right now, we are concluding the catchphrase contest, and the team is currently selecting their winners. So we are all individually picking 3 winners, which we will most likely post end of day today. So if you haven't submitted any catchphrases, please do that in the next hour or two. And the rules for that contest are in the announcement channel. So yeah, the engagement from these have been super great. We definitely want to have one of these contests running every week. So feel free to give us some challenge ideas. I just created a channel in the off-topic category called one-off challenge ideas. So if you have any ideas for a challenge, just drop it in there and I'll review them. But as of right now, I think next week might be an art challenge. And I've also prompted some questions in the design channel if anyone wants to give me their 2 cents on some marketing ideas. And with that, I'll pass the conch to Jason.
Okay, so I think at this point, we've kind of talked about updates about our roadmap, some various stats, Resync, and some of this, these new contests we're running from Skylar. We're going to reserve this part of the update to give each engineer to talk about highlights of what they're working on. And also, obviously, as we release the new roadmap, you'll be able to reference these items on the roadmap as well. So look for that when that comes out. So we're just going to go through a couple engineers to talk about some high-level things they're working on. So Matt, if you want to talk about the miner and pooling efforts you've been working on, as we've kind of seen in the mining channel.
Sure, great. Thank you, Jason. Hello, everybody. My name is Matt. This is my first time doing one of these. I've been with the team for about 3 weeks. And in that time, I've been working on mining and pooling upgrades. So what does that mean? Right now, anybody can run a miner from the CLI and it just kind of works. However, going forward, especially once mainnet launches, the primary means of mining for a lot of people is via pools. And we don't really support pools very well right now. So I've been kind of working on creating new endpoints that pool software would interact with, such that people can make full-fledged pools and improve the security of our network, which is very important. So hopefully coming in the next 2 weeks or so, hopefully sooner, we will have some new endpoints to surface data in ways that are easier for pools to manipulate and mine with. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. Next, I guess I will pass it to Derek.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. Hey, everybody. It's Derek here. Hope everybody's doing well. So what I've been working towards and still working towards going forward is creating pre-built Rust packages that we can distribute over NPM. So that might be a little bit technical, but the long-term goal of my work in the next week or two is going to be that if somebody wants to start up a node, all they have to do on their computer is install Node.js and then run npm install like Ironfish or something like that. And then all the code will get downloaded to their computer automatically, and you won't have to worry about, if you're building from source, for example, installing Rust or running a node through Docker and having that installed. And it'll make the update process a lot easier as well. You can just run rerun npm install Ironfish or whatever it'll be, and you'll get the latest version whenever we publish that. So yeah, we've seen a lot of issues come through around like issues and with different people's setups around installing Ironfish and setting it up. So we're trying to make that process easier. It's still more complex to build than we like, but hopefully over time it'll get a little bit better. What else? Oh, I want to thank people who've been submitting PRs as well. We've been trying to review them as best as we can. One that really stood out to me that was pretty cool is somebody took the initiative to upgrade Oak our command line library, to a newer version. And that sort of thing is really awesome to see. It's really helpful to see because it takes a little bit of work off our plate. And especially another thing that's really awesome is people who have been correcting our documentation and adding to it. Since everybody has like a slightly different computer, it's hard for us to handle every single case in our documentation by default. So whenever people run into issues, if they can help people going forward, that's super awesome. So yeah, really appreciate that. Next up, I believe we'll have Rohan talking about a little bit more telemetry stuff.
Thanks, Derek. Yeah, it's me again. So in the past week or two, I've been working on refactoring and rebuilding the telemetry system for Ironfish. So it was previously broken and we weren't really collecting any data. But with a couple of our recent pull requests and upcoming releases, your Ironfish node will now be able to send over statistics to our API where we collect it. And we're hoping to use this as a source of truth to make improvements from. We plan on releasing a public dashboard very soon, which will contain stuff like, memory usage, what version you're running, block propagation time, the number of connected peers, stuff like that. So we really ask all of you to please enable telemetry when you run the node. It's going to help us understand where we can make improvements and overall make the product a lot better. I will pass it on to Jason.
Okay, two more things on my side in terms of engineering updates are we just released a lot of front-end changes thanks to our front-end engineer, Breck. If you look in announcements, you'll see some fun GIFs for these changes. We're hoping that these changes will allow people to audit their own points a little better, to answer the question of how many points I have, where did those points come from, and also why am I not getting points for something I expect to get points. These are the motivations for a lot of these changes, because users have these questions, and also you can use this obviously to audit other users' points as well by clicking on their user. So we're still trying to make some improvements here. And I will say one of the number one questions that I probably still see in our server are, I mined a block and I don't know why I'm not getting credited for points. So I think we're still looking to make some improvements here, which is one of the last remaining major questions. So look for some changes for that in the future. I also definitely want to just repeat what Derek said. I think that the PRs from the community are amazing. They're really helpful for us, and we look forward every time we see one of those. It's a joy to review. We're looking forward to making that process easier by creating issues in GitHub. If you want to contribute, you can look for the good first issue label. And I know that is somewhat of a barren section right now, but we are looking forward to filling that out with things as we go. I think the only other thing I want to reiterate is, again, we are working toward releasing a brand new roadmap right now to the public, which should also help us answer the question of when the testnet will end or what changes we'll be making to the testnet. So that's all the updates I have right now. Just in general, I think the team is working very hard, and I cannot wait for you all to see the roadmap we're working on. So someone you haven't heard from very often, which is doing an amazing amount of work for the company, is Jenna. So I want to give her an opportunity to talk about some things that she's kind of doing and working on in regards to her, her responsibilities.
Thanks, Jason. Hi, everyone. I'm Jenna. I am the recruiter and human resources person here at Ironfish. I've been here for about 6 months, working really hard on, getting our roles out there and recruiting. We are heavily recruiting for several positions. Our highest priority right now is actually geared towards you guys. So we're looking for a community manager / technical support engineer, somebody who's going to help not only manage our community, but also help with some of the more technical questions. And then we're also looking for front end and back end engineers. So if you know anybody, or if any of you are interested, you can go to our website. Our careers page is ironfish.network/careers, or you can email us at joinus. The email is joinus@ironfish.network. Send resumes. You can ask questions about recruiting, and you can also apply directly on our website. So those are just some of the recruiting updates. Thank you, and I'll pass it back to Jason.
Yeah, I think that's actually all the updates we have. Generally, we have a Q&A section at the end here, but it looks like there's not that many questions coming through. If you have any questions here, we could take a couple minutes to answer them, but yeah, I don't think there any are. Obviously, we do respond to the community. Actually, there is one thing I want to say, because I talked to someone recently who joined our testnet and told me that they are a part of many testnets. And one thing they had told me is that our community is the most helpful to each other they have actually ever seen in any testnet they participate in. And I think that that is something worth calling out, because you don't get there on accident. You have to push a helpful culture. You also have to thank people for their contributions, which we are extremely thankful for. And I just want to say, like, if we were to paint the picture of the community we want, it's like a community of patience, a community of helping other people, a community of empathy. Like, yes, people are facing technical issues, but generally just helping them and treating them with respect is most ideal. And I know around the mining issue, there were some heated kind of discussion around that, but I appreciate when people kind of kept it reasonably in check. It's fine to disagree. We've never removed our people for disagreeing. It's more just disagree with respect to the other person. That's kind of all we ask. So, but anyway, that was a great compliment to our community in general. And I want to say, keep it up. Thank you for being great community members. You make it a pleasure to work on the coin. And I mean, obviously, we all cannot wait to get this to mainnet launch, so we can see it being used by the people in the community and the people out of the community. So that is all that I have. So we will leave this chat channel open for about 10 more minutes. I also will try to post a summary of this in the chat channel as at least one of the last things, so people know what was discussed here. And that's all I have. Thank you very much. I hope you have a really good Friday.